Feels like we should have music or something. Why don't you sing? You could sing for us. Hello, my people. Guess who hasn't gone to sleep yet? That would be me. Did you get a good night's rest? It's morning. Well, here it is. I always try to scoot this way and it's stuck on the sock. Hi. I haven't gone to sleep yet. What the feckity? I'm so glad you guys are here. This is a weird time for us. I mean, usually we're evening, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. So wasn't sure who would be here, but we're recording it. So here we are. How did you sleep, honey? Really? Not at all? Not even moments? I didn't make it to bed last night. I didn't make it to bed. The power got cut off. I don't know why, but we weren't finished. We weren't finished with our live where we were talking about Candace and George's friendship with the Tates and introducing Candace to Andrew and questioning some things and challenging Candace on some things, which some of you guys did not like at all, which I think is great because we get to learn all the things. Um, Now, what I did, because if you know me, I'm ADD and I have not slept. So I made some notes. I thought it might be a good idea to read some of the words. Oh, thank you, Jenna, for I never ask always forget to say subscribe and like. Honeybee saying you have a bit of a hangover. That's what Doug is feeling like. Um, in your mind from all this? Oh, I missed the comment. It scrolled.
I don't have an emotional hangover.
Okay, Doug does not have an emotional hangover. Um, so Honeybee said, I have a hangover type of feeling in my mind from all of this, and the abrupt end to the stream last night left you feeling vulnerable. I haven't slept either. Oh, honey, that might be codependency issues. No, I appreciate how invested you are in this and how supportive you are, and I appreciate that. Um, the power went out, and it wasn't just our place, which would have been weird. Would have been weird. But it was our whole like apartment complex area and up in the hills a little bit too. And so we walked the dogs a little bit in the dark, who went nuts after anybody with a flashlight. I got fuzzy on my face. Um, but I stayed up. I just had some work to do, and again, the kids' photo albums on the floor. Doug has been very patient because this project started about a year and a half ago.
2 years ago.
No, in January it will be 2 years.
No, it'll be 3 years in January.
No, it won't be 3 years. There's no way. There is no freaking way. When were the fires? You tell me when the fires were. If it's going on 3 years, there's no. We're gonna take a brief. See, I can't talk yet. A brief break to resolve this argument. Remember back in the day when the argument would go on forever because you couldn't just Google it?
Okay.
Ha! I was right. You're supposed to say it. You were right. I was wrong. It's not as fun. Like if I say it, it's just like taunting. Have I mentioned I haven't slept? So, um, I'm high closure. So, um, I felt a little like unsettled and it was just weird. It was a weird live because I was processing. And somebody helped articulate that really well in the form of a compliment. Like, thank you for processing in real time. And I started, somewhere in the first 5 minutes or so, I said, I'm proud of myself for getting on here and doing it because otherwise I would have spent 3 days just taking in all this information about the Tates, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So, because I'm high closure and somewhat of an insomniac, I'm going to read. I'm going to read some notes. I always want to say my opening statement, but I don't know if that's trademark. And you know what? I think Barron poked at somebody like they're like, you can't say that. It's my thing. So, I'm saying it in jest. I'm not being I need to come up with something if I'm going to keep doing this thing. Um so being up last night, what I started to do was respond to a lot of the comments, more than I ever had have like long stuff. And then I started to realize that my responses were becoming redundant, and that's just not fun for everybody. And tone can be really hard to interpret interpret. So, it was a touchy subject. I was already pushing back on Candace. If I pushed back on you, like it might just read wrong. The energy could read wrong. So I thought, you can see my face, which might be hard to read too, because I haven't slept and ADD is a thing. So yesterday's live was not on the calendar. It was, I get very, I get very metaphoric, very poetic at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to read it the way I wrote it. Yesterday's life wasn't on the calendar. It was the spontaneous birth of an unplanned pregnancy that occurred as a result of being emotionally roofied by the Tate brothers in the midst of an 18-hour crash course on all things Tate, who unfortunately are culturally relevant with ongoing investigations in 3 countries. Doug, did you see any of these notes beforehand?
No.
Okay. Sometimes when I write, I'm like, Doug, don't read the notes because I don't want him to be like, are you sure? So most people have mentioned, and I'm not going to go into a big exposition, whatever, about the Tates. I'm going to mention a couple things, but um, or Candace or George, or I I think, I expressed myself, and I don't need to, once I started to get into, all right, Candace is saying this and it doesn't sound sincere. Like, again, it's the analytical mind that I've been doing of the breakdown of, like Tracy Martin and Erica, and even Charlie and Erica's dynamic, all of them, which really deserve the scrutiny. Candace hasn't earned like that kind of like analytical thing, but I'm just in that mindset, which is why when I started sifting through all these videos, it's it's a critical thinking mindset. So, um, um, so most people are familiar with 2 countries. We've heard about Romania, the UK, and the United States. And these are still open investigations. Some people have said, well, if they haven't been arrested for anything or did it, it's not totally how it works. And the only reason it halted in Romania, the only reason is because Trump, encouraged by Barron and Don Jr., said they're being wrongly persecuted and you need to get them home. Now, when they arrived in Florida in 2025, Florida opened an investigation. So there is a um, an investigation in in the U.S. as well, and UK's been ready to go, and in the process of waiting, to I'm not going to say all the right lawyer words, but UK was next on the list, but Romania got to do their thing first. That got shut down because of Trump, and who could empathize? He got all in his feelings. And then So UK was like, it's our turn, and sent, I don't know what it's called, um, a notice to the DOJ saying, we have a warrant that we want served. Is this okay? And like I said yesterday, my mouth is sticking together. This administration, this administration, who went so far as to bring them back here, Trump does what he does. He has these like spontaneous moments. We've seen it on display. I'm not like being hyperbolic. Like will announce in the Oval Office, we're going to do this. And everyone's like, you can see their faces like, okay. So I'm sure he gave a directive without, like going to war. There's an interview with somebody that was in the room when decisions were being made, and they're like, and the interviewer's like, why didn't somebody stop him from going into war? And they said everybody tried to stop him, but then Pete Hegseth came in, who has been micromanaged. And I mean, there's a guy, I wish I knew his name, that, is always by his side, that is a Zionist, just influencing everything. So Pete came in and said, we're going to blitz him with this. We're going to take out this guy, and it'll be a 1 day situation. And Trump just came off his experience with the 1 day thing and was like, we can do this. If you remember in the Oval Office, Trump was like, can you believe they struck back? And I mean, it's a fascinating clip because he's looking at the guys who told him, don't do this because they're going to strike our bases. And he's surprised. He's genuinely surprised. So this is a educated guess that without going through the process, Trump said, bring him back, bring him back. What they did is no big deal. Remember, the Epstein files, no big deal. Why are people still talking about it? It's no big deal. And
When you say bring them back, you're saying legally let them return to the country,
yeah,
not
drop what you're doing. So it wasn't Romania saying, we got nothing. You can go. All right. This was, there was pushback on this. But Trump was like, who knows what he said, but got him back. Technically, I believe from what I briefly researched, it's still open. It is still open. That is true because they said now UK is at the top of the line, so they're taking them there. And Caroline Levitt was like, no, we're not interfering, right? So it's a go for them to go back. So once they do their thing and serve their time in the UK, then they're delivered to Romania. These are serious freaking charges. And they've said, bring it on. We're innocent. We're innocent. Bring it on. Not exactly the thing you want to manifest. Um, and so yeah, there's always talk, especially now when the conspiracy can of worms has been opened, and people are like, yeah, there are worms there. You know, some of the stuff that was most far out, stuff that I didn't believe in. It's like, okay, there it is. But the same people dismiss that Trump's name is in there over a million times. And if that's the double standard. Double standards, hypocrisy, huge red flag for me. So Trump's name in there over a million times. Forget that. If it were Obama or Biden, you know, you know how it goes. You know how it goes. So the charges include rape, human trafficking, assault, bodily harm, like because of the strangulation, like with belts and stuff, money laundering, forming a criminal group, trafficking minors, and apparently, from what I understand, that in UK they added sex trafficking. But UK also, they're really weird about some stuff. And they added, I forget what it's called, um, basically that he was inciting violence with his language. And there's videos of like people, the doors getting knocked on, and they've said something that they're deeming anti-Semitic, and they're getting taken in for that. It's really so. But freedom of speech. I think they're disgusting, the Tate brothers. Um, but they can say what they have to say. Um, Apparently, there's an audience for that. So, oh, so what I was going to say, the conspiracy theories. I once heard like a CIA guy, like somebody in it, who says there's too much credit given for the coordination of these things. That he said everybody thinks everybody else knows what they're doing, and a lot of people don't really know what they're doing, like in power positions and stuff. So, um, like I don't think DeSantis or whoever is coordinating with Romania. Uh, that's just my opinion. Okay. Gonna read again. I agreed with Charlie Kirk. The Epstein files should have been released in full. After hearing and reading responses to my live, where I raised the question of Candace's fierce defense of them being influenced, possibly being influenced by some bias as a result of George's friendship with Andrew, which is a fair question. It's a fair question. And she probably already addressed it, but I'm new here. I'm so new here. So, um, I thought about something and then I missed it. After hearing and reading responses, I raised the question influence. Oh, some people in the comments said, well, he wasn't really friends. George wasn't really friends. Or there was some confusion over, well, George only met Andrew 3 times. Or, and then someone said, no, Candace said that regardless, I mean, like I've only seen my best friend once in 3 years. So, you don't have to be in the same room. But in the interview that I shared where they're discussing, where George and what's his name?
What?
What's the guy's name? The Catholic guy that George was talking to?
Taylor Morrison.
Taylor Morrison. Um, George made it more than clear that they're really friends and they talk theology. And he said, I knew Andrew before he was Andrew, which would mean decades. I don't know when the Big Brother show was in UK. And I don't know. I mean, it was annoying that the guy didn't ask him when. But his first public exposure was him being kicked out of the. I mean, he was who he is now.
2016.
Oh, 2016. Oh, so not decades, but
No, Big Brother was 2016.
right, right. So a decade. But he came out of the gate as that guy, which I don't know. I don't know why that would appeal to. But um, now here's the deal. It wasn't my intent to come off like I was attacking Candace. Part of me felt like Charlie Kirk when he was on Megyn Kelly on August 6th and he's being passionate about Israel and being accused of being anti Semitic. And he makes it a point. He goes, once again, I love Israel. I've I've been to Israel. I've I love that Jesus walked on water there. My life was changed in Israel. It's so funny. I have the inflections down by now, like fully down. Um, so I made it a point of saying, I respect Candace. I love Candace. Um, but I disagreed and I questioned some things. So, but this is interesting to me. I'm gonna go back to reading. But any doubt, any question I raised, anything that implied anything other than the utmost of purity of her character, I'm called crazy, deceived by mainstream media or Hollywood, um, psychotic or demonic. Does that sound familiar, my friends? What an awesome opportunity to look at how this mirrors when, people say things about Erica or Turning Point. It's the same. It is the same. Oh, well, I'm right. Everybody thinks they're right. It's the same. And do you do you think Candace wants to be respected or worshipped? Because what I was picking up was this idolization. Is that a word? Idolization, this idolatry of her. I don't think she wants that. I'm new here, but I can pick that up. She doesn't like sycophants aren't like the the blind loyalty thing. Like I presented solid evidence, about something. I don't remember what it had to do with the donors, the top 20 donors. And on Instagram, somebody responded, "Has Candace talked about this? I only believe it if it comes from Candace." That's a problem. That's a problem because why? You can't take that information yourself and then use it as a catalyst. I don't like saying you because it's probably not you. It's probably somebody else. Even Donald Trump, it's he's notorious for wanting to be idolized, but degrading his supporters, like not to their faces, but like saying a comment. The one that's more notorious is the or infamous is when he said he doesn't like want them in the lobby of his hotel, like those people. Now I don't I believe strongly that Candace would rather be respected, which means there's thought behind it. You appreciate the work that she's done, and it's not just a okay, whatever Candace says. Moving on, probably to 5 o'clock in the morning thoughts. Just think, I think the most lame podcasts or news shows are when it's just two people or a group of people just agreeing on everything. That's why they'll bring people in, sometimes not obnoxious people that disagree. I think it goes too far in the other direction. They'll bring somebody in like that Kevin O'Leary guy from Shark Tank. I really don't watch mainstream stuff. And that's not like people would be like, you watch too much mainstream news, or somebody said you sound like you pick up like you're just regurgitating mainstream stuff. First of all, they don't talk about this stuff. So I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know where that came from, but no.
You
Uh,
should read your super chats at this point.
I should read my super chats at this point.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Don't say come on. The big thing is up. It's usually over there because I'm reading stuff.
Stop.
Doug is cranky. Doug is cranky. Um, thank you, Evie. Oh shoot. I forgot I can click it up. Thank you for talking about the Candace Tate stuff. It's so important that we hold everyone to the same standard. Truth is truth, no matter who it is. Personally, as a true Standis, is that what it's called? I didn't know what it was called. I want to hear from her on this. I do too. And when it comes to the Romania stuff, that I feel like we're entitled to. I feel like if the case is going to be built, and I didn't know this about Romania, I just didn't look into it. That, Erica Kirk, huge red flag because she had this charity. I don't think she still does, but Romanian Angels, and her and Tracy Martin took Christmas gifts over there. My question was like, why? Franklin Graham already does that and is more organized, so just donate it. But again, I think it's because when you're in pageants, you need to have something like that on your pageant resume that you started charities. So and so then anybody that's in certain countries, it'll be noted that, oh, that country, but especially Romania. And she didn't live there. The guys went there because England, like the UK, was, police showed up at their door. I said this yesterday, but Andrew then had based on his own words, he had a fight there and then was just like, well, we'll just stay here. So the move was under duress, even though he's, going to be like, I'm, cool about it. But, you know, it's not like you prayed on it or anything other than, God, where do I go? Again, if this were Hunter Biden, I could get on here one day or on social media, not here. You guys are like higher IQ, but to like the pool is bigger. Like on Instagram, I have like 355,000 followers. So if I did a post where I'm like, okay, the laptop thing, they there's a great explanation for that. If you haven't watched an interview with Hunter Biden lately, it's is amazing. But if I fabricated a story, but I presented it as, okay, they got this information. They finally somebody went rogue. They thought it was done. They found this thing, and they're going after him. And described the things that the Tates have been accused of, or Trump has been accused of, or Epstein. Not Epstein so much because I think most we're on the same page with that. But let's say Trump or the Tates, people would be foaming at the mouth. You know it. I mean, they'd be foaming at the mouth, like just excited. I don't. Why would people foam at the mouth if they're excited? It was weird. If they got excited, went outside, got bit by a squirrel, and got rabies, and then foamed at the mouth. Did I mention I haven't slept?
I heard the other one.
Okay. So, but you know what I'm saying? That stuff is just aggravating. Did you put it up? But thank you so much for sharing that, Evie. Okay, I'm okay. Are you going to do it? Love you and what you do. Your humor, I love the English spelling of humor is amazing. Keep up the fantastic work. Love to you and Doug. Thank you. Love back at you. Thank you so much.
And correction, it's Taylor Marshall, not Taylor Morrison.
Taylor Marshall. Look at me. I didn't even like do my hair. I just do my little whatever. It's like we're having a slumber party. All right. Is there another one?
Nope.
I'm okay. So can you make that one go away? Thank you. High closure. It's like, take it away, even though I'm looking over here. Um, don't need the glasses. So I made the point in a podcast, anything that's more interesting, that's when you learn stuff, hopefully, is when people are pushing back. Candace and Charlie, this is what they did. Candace didn't go to places where people got in line to just tell her how amazing she is. They challenged her. They're supposed to ask questions. One time somebody went up there, I happened to catch this clip and made a statement. And, it was just like this, like the leftist liberal kind of statement. Like even I was like, what? And Candace just went, that was a statement. Okay, thank you. Like next kind of thing. It was really funny. Um, it did cross my mind, like, and I said this yesterday, like, if I had the option to reach out to Candace directly, that instinctively, if I feel like something is going to be controversial, um, the peacemaker in me, or maybe the adult child of alcoholic is in me, um, would reach out first. In hindsight, I don't know why that would be necessary. I had that thought as well when I challenged Project Constitution, who I really respect, their work. And again, I take something that they share, and they share amazing things like the Amazing Race video. I've used that as a reference point for so much. Like when Erica was happy, different person. Even like pre Charlie, different person. I think of the speeches that she's done, like when since Charlie, and it's kind of like even her shoulders are kind of like this cute kind of, as opposed to just this relaxed, you know, in love young woman who was texting 15-year-olds completely inappropriately, allegedly. Um, so part of me was like, I don't know, maybe it was conflict avoidance issues or whatever. Because I don't think I've come on here like and said anything that I thought was gonna kick up any controversy, which I don't mind. But I was being very self care oriented. Like this information is going to oppress me, and instead of spending all this time just downloading stuff, and I watched the interviews, someone would be like, well, if you watch the interview you would don't presume I haven't. It's interesting to me when somebody says, well, I watched an interview with Andrew Tate. Somebody mentioned another person that he interviewed with that I'm not familiar with, Dave, or I don't know, and I believe him. They said, and I believe him. Okay. Did you watch any interviews with anybody who's made allegations, or reporters that have summarized? I mean, the information is out there. It's absurd, really. It's ludicrous to form an opinion, basically one that you were initially inclined to anyway, by just listening to the accused, who has been accused of sometimes. Candace even said this about that one of the reasons she felt good about her interview with him was that he kind of broke character. I think there's something seriously wrong that would want to play that character, and but it's also his life. I mean, they actually do what, so I don't get it. I understand there's sometimes the bravado is a little over the top. I'm not even sure that that's the right word, but it's just gross. And that's not like just the feminine in me, that the feminist that's like, we should be paid the same as men if we take their position. There's so much misconstruedness. I get to make up words about that word. But so the issue that I have with the misogyny stuff, some of it comes from my evangelical experience of working for a church in full-time ministry for over a decade, where there's a hierarchy. It's married men, then single men, and then married women, and then single women, just with the respect factor and stuff. Um, so I don't, I think Candace would be like, why you like, why you, it just feels weird on some level. Like this is an intense thing, and we're on the same team. There's certain creators, but it's good to challenge each other, just not be total like dicks about it. So when Project Constitution came out, and somebody reached out to them, and we have to be careful because I think at times people try to set us up, like we got this big scoop. And so somebody reached out to Project Constitution, said that I have a friend, not them, it was second person, who saw Erica Kirk and Blake Wynn at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and they were at the bar drinking. I spent 3.5 days. I'm talking long days debunking that, basically. Not setting out to debunk it, but there were some red flags about the way the whole thing was described. So I've I've invested in that and not just my intent, believe it or not, some would find this hard to believe, is just, well, the accusation is a blanket statement of just being out to destroy Erica and destroy Turning Point. No, no, but calling it out and trying to find some humor in it in the midst of it. So, um, my first, just a little bit of the history. My first thought for Erica, I've mentioned this before. I really don't like being redundant. So if you've been here since the beginning, you're going to have to bear with me, please. So my first thought for Erica was sympathy for her loss. Then it was concern that she was being manipulated. When she first took that stage, even seeing past the fireworks, I was like, who is caring for this woman? She's being manipulated. That did not last long. Because when she gets up there and says, I forgive him, she is declaring to the world, he's guilty. This guy did it. And he's like, the death penalty is on the line. She's setting him up to be killed. It was it was evil. It was evil under the guise of that stuff gets to me, gets to me. Um, Here's other things that I believe that there's a good chance you may not believe in. I know because I got pushback when I said, and I gave reasons for all of this. I'm not going to go through them now, but I believe the children do exist and that they are Charlie's and Erica's. Why are you looking at me?
Well, whose children? But then you clarified it.
Yes, Erica's and Charlie's. The no surrogates, that they are their children. Um, Candace, until she did the Sean Ryan interview, she was quiet on that one. Um, Also, I don't think it's weird that her family, that there were no family and no outside friends that went with her from Arizona to Utah when she got the news, if that's the flight that did whatever. I Candace has said regularly that why wasn't their family there? Like that's weird. Now, I love for Candace how close she was with her grandfather. The the respect she has for her family unit, that her sister does some work with for her and getting ready for her wedding. And I think she said something about a cousin that was moving there. That's amazing. I love that. I have not had that at all. It's my brother and myself. He lives in Alaska. My parents divorced when we were in high school. We lived separately. We're really close now, but in being involved in different ministries, they do become like your family and just logistical grabbing who is close to you. So that is something that repeatedly comes up where I don't I don't see that at all. I just don't. It's just a disagreement. Just a I mean just a not even a disagreement. It's like a just a different perspective on it because we only see C3PO. We only can see three. Geez, we see through our own life experience, even if we are empaths and can really tune into other people. We can only do that apart from rare, supernatural interventions. Holy Spirit invention, whatever the supernaturalness is for you. Um, it's our own filter. It's our life experience. We can't separate that. So there are going to be red flags for other people that everybody could have a different red flag. Okay. Um, okay, here's one. Here's one. I haven't gotten to talk about this yet. And I actually have a video with this one. The the article that came out. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Um, I'm just going to share the video. It's the Daily Mail article. Okay. So and Gary, I think his name at Project Constitution, brings on Tracy Martin.
No, Paramount Tactical,
Oh yeah, what did I say?
Project
I
Constitution.
do that because I've done that. I haven't done that in a while, but they're both like longer. Project Constitution, lots of syllables, guys. So, um, Paramount Tactical, who I've never watched a full episode. I was going to attempt with this one, and I couldn't do it. Um, I guess you got to be at the right place. You know, when you're going into contrary territory, opposing territory, contrary. That sounds silly, but I don't want to say enemy territory because he's Gary's not the enemy. You know? So anyway, I'm spacing out a little bit. Let's watch
First
these.
thing that I want to jump into, folks, is something that just went down. Candace, on
Okay,
her
I can't hear it
episode
at all, babe.
yesterday, is talking about how apparently, allegedly, Erica Kirk is calling her an
I
ugly
need to be able
bitch
to hear it.
and all of these other things. I immediately thought that is probably not true. I don't know Erica personally. I just don't think that's her character. I want to let you guys know exactly where I first kind of heard this. But here
Sorry,
it
guys.
says, she
We
says she's not going to give that woman an ounce of her energy, but sometimes she just can't help herself and she'll sort of explode with a tirade. She hates her more than she hates her political opponents. At least with them, she knew where she stood. They didn't exactly betray her like Candace did. Candace did her so dirty. I think at this
oh
point,
maybe their
she
dad's
likes
not
even
on.
Tyler more than Candace. A Daily Mail cited unnamed sources. And folks, this is what we see time and time again. This is Candace Owens' trade. Like, this is what she works with. This is her entire business model. What do we get are unverified, anonymous sources with unverifiable information. I don't think for a
So sorry about the chaos there. Doug's really cranky. Really cranky today. Can you hear me? Can you hear me say how cranky you're being? Very fussy. Um, right away, I, Candace didn't write the article. Like that's what am I missing here? So when Gary says, maybe I'm just blatantly missing it. When he says this is what Candace does, there's unnamed sources. It's the Daily Mail. It's not Candace. Candace didn't appear on her show and read a statement that included Erica, cussing her. But the mindset of you don't question, I mean, I didn't read through the comments, but I'm thinking there's a strong probability that nobody pushed back and said, but wait, Candace didn't say that. That was written in an article. And you best believe that if somebody, even the most pro Gary person, said, "Hey guys, Candace didn't say that. It's like he's reading what somebody wrote," that person would get torn up. Would get torn up. All right. I think that made sense.
Second, that this is legitimate. But I don't really care if it was. This is a gold rush. This
Candace
has
doesn't
become
either.
the story of the year. And we see this, like people understand if they just say exactly what Candace says and promote these lies, their channels are going to blow up. They're going to get clicks, views, super chats, all of the things.
I love that I can't be accused of that. Actually, I still get accused of that. But no, not true. Not true. It's so silly. Oh, my Cheshire cat smile. He also says, he's going to go on to say this, but I won't interrupt it if I say it now. That he's like, some of these people hated Turning Point, hated Charlie, and that it's just a money grab situation. Okay, I didn't particularly like Charlie Kirk. I didn't think about Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk till he started speaking out against Israel and the Epstein files not being released and Gaza and questioning October 7th. I thought, whoa, he is bucking the system. And that always gets my attention. And apparently the algorithm knows that. And he would show up. I would still, like, I would see debates and see him be demeaning and rude. So when people are like, he was just always, calling down people that disagreed with him to the front of the line and was nothing but gracious. I'm okay. No, no. Um, and that's not like a slam on him. It's just this thing we do when people have passed away, especially when there's agenda behind it. She was going on. He's the perfect husband, the perfect father. Everything was perfect. I'm his fault. Everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. Be like Charlie. Live for Charlie. Blasphemy. That memorial service. So, but it's like everything's a money grab. They say everything's a money grab. That is called, what is that called? Projection. Everybody, uses that word all the time. I would also refer to it as consciousness of guilt. You know, that's what they're doing. Just sounds more fancy, I guess. Everybody says projection. Consciousness of guilt. All right, Gary, let's go on.
This is an agenda to destroy TPUSA. Most of these people hated Charlie Kirk before he was murdered. And guess what? We have Tracy Martin right here, and she can react. Tracy, let us know what your
I have to tell you, I have spent a lot of hours. I am the first and foremost um, on Tracy Martin. I'm fascinated by people. I'm working through my religious baggage with this whole thing. I feel like everything in my life has brought me to this moment, just as everything in your life has brought you to this moment for you. But to speak about these things, if somebody would, my ex fiance's new wife, that's a fun story. She's the one that actually texted me, sent me a text saying that he had died, not her husband. Although at times I think she's keeping her fingers crossed. Um, I digress. What was I saying? Because my mind started to wonder. Because yeah, just okay. Yeah. So what I was going to say, thank you, honey. Um, just the fascination of people and how Tracy inserted herself into this, which was brave. And I think there's authenticity there. She's a life coach. She's like a skinny jeans pastor. Now, if you're a life coach, some people look great in skinny jeans. Pastors, however, Rob McCoy, how old is he? He's actually just a year or so older than I am.
You need to clarify, you refer to people that don't have much training, education,
Yeah.
etc.
So, um, Doug's keeping me on track here. Um, Sorry, I started to think about a service animal and what kind of service dog it would be that would nudges like its, you know, people partner in a right direction. Like, I don't know if they're blind or something. So I was trying to think of that analogy. So Rob McCoy, Calvary Chapel, they don't need to have seminary degrees
To be ordained.
to be ordained, right? So life coaches, generally speaking, I think there are some courses, but so so we all have our thing. I'm sassy. I talk down at times. You know, I clipped together a reel of Erica and Andrew's sex life. It's a short. Um, it's the one I think it says, I went fifth grade humor on this. So it's on all platforms except TikTok. TikTok is weird. Like if I don't create it all and film in there, then they take me off the creators fund thing. Doug pulled out the microphone. He realizes I need him. So uh, there's some interviews. I was going to say I've spent, I don't want to say hundreds of hours, but dozens of hours in Miss Tracy Martin, Ms. Tracy Martin, um, Mrs. Tracy Martin. When the biggest issue I have from a not a criminal standpoint, it's incriminating on a personal level is the way that she lied allegedly about the timeline of Erica's business because that whole thing is the basis of Erica. It's her script of you know what it is. Don't work. Do what I did. I started a business and it was so successful. And Tracy has said the same thing about herself, and I'm highly skeptical that she sustained sustained herself on her own income. It's very misleading. Okay, gonna play Tracy Martin. Remember, Candace was like, "This must have been Tracy Martin."
Thoughts are on this. And by the way, were you the person that Daily Mail contacted and you provided this information?
Absolutely not. No,
So
absolutely not.
you've read both those articles because you sent them to me, Erica. Have you ever seen Erica go on a tirade, start crashing out?
Never. Never. That's not her MO. I have a lot of thoughts about this, to be honest with you.
And she will go on to share them all, and I cut a lot of them out. Now, Tracy, well, here's the deal. Let me just cut to the chase. I believe her. I don't believe it was her. I'll tell you who I do believe it was in a moment. Tracy likes the spotlight. You'll hear in a second. She sent the articles to Gary. She reached out to Graham Allen. She did Instagram videos 2 weeks in because she said she waited 2 weeks because she wanted to observe. It's just, um, she'll say she, doesn't believe in judging and then goes on to judge Candace. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to judge Erica here. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not doing that. So, but I'm going to not bury the lead. What's it called when you give it away? Spoiler. I don't, whatever. I believe her, and I'll explain why in a minute. Well, I already did. She likes the limelight, but there's more to it. I haven't seen her speak with this kind of energy, which is there's a certain amount of conviction to it. I believe her.
Gary. First and foremost, that's not Erica. People who know Erica, and if you notice, people actually came on against this podcast who just recently met me and said there's no way that she would have done this, and that's how you know you have a consistency of character. Erica
She says these ridiculous things like consistency of character, or Erica and I, Erica and I have shared life experience. So basically, her evidence that she has presented for certain issues, like where Erica was the morning Charlie was killed, was no evidence. It was Erica told me. Essentially, I mean, she said there were texts going around. There was nothing that even Graham was like, "What?" Um, okay, the problem I have with Tracy is that she'll say things like she's never seen Erica melt down and lose it. Does she not watch what we see? Did she not see the video of Erica, the covert video that was taken of her in a leadership meeting where she said she was pissed because their tables were being scheduled at either a different time than the UNF America, or that they weren't notified that UNF America was coming in so they could counterpoint. But she was pissed, and she said, "I'm pissed." Now, some people are like, "That's not a cuss word," but we've seen how angry she is toward Candace. She accused Candace of accusing her of murdering Charlie, which is not the right phrasing at all. So Tracy quickly, like, she loses a lot of credibility when she says things like, Erica is with her kids all the time. Like, she's, what is it? She sees them every day, but those kids are with her all the time. All right. Well, unless you have watched a lot of her, you would just disregard. Don't waste your time. But that bit about her not being the one calling in, she loves the attention.
would never, she doesn't curse. She doesn't say those things. She still to this day has never said anything bad about Candace or anyone involved in this at all. And by the way, I've never spoken to anyone at Daily Mail. One thing you'll know about me, Gary, is if you interview me, please quote me. Please put my name in there. I want complete transparency on what I say. So there's no reason to hide anything as far as I'm concerned. So if I say it, quote me 100%. And if I
Tell me that's not believable. That's believable. She is like, she's leaning in, conviction, eye contact. Like, it's, that's, there's nothing there that's indicating that that's not sincere. And it's not, she'll do this thing where she's like, Erica's with her kids every day. Like, the body language is different. It's, I absolutely believe her.
misspeak, I'll tell you I did. And I'm telling you right now, never spoke to anyone at Daily Mail. However, I would like to address this. Candace states down here that she says that I was spearheading the interview with Us Weekly, Us Magazine, which is interesting because she doesn't tag them in it and she doesn't tag me in it, but she tags Daily Mail and everybody else. And then she says that because it sounded like the same type of language, right? Well, I have a question. That article was never, ever published. So how does Candy know? How does she know what the article sounds like?
First of all, did she just call her Candy? She just called her Candy. That's crazy. I know what she was thinking was Candy Cult. Okay. Megyn Kelly's approach when she wants to get information is, she didn't say this with Charlie, but like on the August 6th thing, he just came out of this meeting where it was, you're anti Semitic if you don't want to do this TPUSA Israel, if you speak out, you know, the drill. So she'll say something like, God, it must be really hard for you. Just her whole demeanor. It must be really hard for you. It's not justified at all. And then the person is off to the races, right? Candace does this thing, and maybe it is me reading too much into it, but respect in the sense that it's a little bit of a compromise because it's going to be her quite possibly getting something wrong or revealing something like maybe she planted this story. I don't know. I haven't looked into that at all. But as a result, Tracy's done this before, and I don't want to give away the spiel here. We'll ramble off inner information that Candace didn't have. And this happened on their phone call where Candace will say, well, I know Erica was actually here that morning. And Tracy will say, well, no, she was here and this is why. And da da da. Like information that Candace didn't necessarily have. That's what I want to believe in my mind because I think that would be cool. That's conjecture. Is that the right word? Just like I want to believe that Megyn Kelly knew because Charlie told her in that August 6th interview that he was still working on a book. He was working on a book on the Sabbath because I honor the Sabbath, he was saying. August 6th. He was still working on it. And I'll tell you this, when a writer is almost finished with a book, we tend to say that. If I'm working on it, you're still like in the midst of it. If it's close to getting wrapped up, there's usually so much relief in sight. And when the book is done, that's like a baby birthing moment for a writer. That's a really big deal. But when Megyn asked 3 times, 3 different ways, Erica, was the book finished? Was the book finished? Or when was the book finished? Erica says, June or July. She's like, yeah, doing the nodding, like the extra emphasis of this helps convince you, right? Why did I bring up that Doug? Oh, Candace's thing. So people have their style, their thing. Tucker does leading question thing. It's interesting. Charlie in debates had this tool in my observation where, excuse me, I got sticky lips. I'm trying to think of something like a funnel where he doesn't know what the person is going to ask. But once he gets the subject, it gets filed in a certain funnel. And he has a main stance or two on these main, different talking points, which can be somewhat predictable, the different subjects. And he will, if you notice, he'll ask them questions really like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? It's not like you're just like having a coffee dialogue. So it's kind of all right, we're moving it here now. We're moving it here now. We're moving it here now until it gets to that place where, all right, this is his response, which is why the Oxford Ivy League schools, did he do more than one? Cambridge, Oxford, whatever, were different. Just the way that the United States education system is set up is just learn a fact, regurgitate the fact. When Doug went to Bible college in London, there was a learning curve just about learning how they learn. How would you say that?
Well, they didn't do test. Everything was essay based, so you had to really interact with the subject and be able to give your opinion about it versus, like you said, just regurgitating facts.
To own it. You see Erica do this when there's certain talking points, stories that she feels really comfortable talking about. Like when even though there's holes in it. There's some contradicting information. Like when she talks about meeting them at Bob's Burgers. That storyline, like it gets natural, becomes natural. Um, what's there's another one. Darn it. Oh, the one that she relied heavily upon in the very first few days was the story about Usha Vance, and it boiled down to just get through the next 15 minutes. Because she's like, when you're on a plane and your kids are just acting up, and I'm like, there's a lot of presupposition going into anybody relating to this. But you just get through the next 15 minutes. And she was in it, like she was in it. Because you can tell when a storyline has saturated somebody. You can tell when a comedian is trying new material because it goes from a storyline that they know and they're on it to, the energy shifts a bit. You see this if you ever go back and you're watching older videos, you can tell when she is almost like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to say here. And not because Charlie gave her a script, but just she knows that the framework she is in, this is what she's supposed to say. And there are looks she gives like, okay, did he buy this? Did he buy this? Just so in the Megyn Kelly interview, it is wild. I mean, it's one of those, three moods in 5 seconds kind of things. And you can tell when she's going into all right, this is how I'm supposed to deliver this because the energy shifts. It's really sad. And why I say it's sad is because women in the church as a whole, the universal church, um, especially in the South, there are exceptions, but there's this real oppression of, I did a video on this where Erica is speaking soon after having her first baby, I think, because it's 2019. And she is like telling these women, you don't make it about you. That we live in such a selfish world. If you make it about you. I mean, it is all about wiping yourself out emotionally and sets women up to fail and self-condemnation. It's it's really bad. It's dangerous. It's so bad. And I can relate to that. I remember when my mom came over my mom's a therapist, and she came over to London, and we're riding on the tube, and I can remember where I was standing, holding onto the thing, and she was like 3 or 4 kind of people away, but there were no people there, just to give you an idea of spacing. And she said, "Is this a healthy place for you to be?" Because it was a very oppressive, just leadership situation. And I remember thinking, what, like not understanding the question, like legit not understanding the question, because we were drilled with, you lay down your life for the sake of the gospel. So it wasn't until we left and moved back to the Nashville area, Franklin, Tennessee, which is like halfway between where Candace and Barron live, that it just hit me that laying down your life for the sake of the gospel does not mean sacrificing yourself emotionally. And so then the mission organization hired me to be a coach for the people that had been approved to work overseas, but you had to raise your own financial support, and it went through the ministry organization, which is the way it should go. And it was one of the most fulfilling things to come out of the experience that I did, and to help, encourage these people that it's okay to ask questions like, what do you need out of a team? You know? But everything that Erica was communicating was, your needs are not important. it doesn't matter at all. Now, think about this. If she'd been telling herself this or had been being told this for 4 years, 5 years, because she says in an interview, I don't remember which one, but she says that she was excited about upon reflecting. They had already been through the premarital. She goes premarital when we went to premarital, which always cracked me up because I always thought of like premarital sex. I never heard of anyone just refer to premarital counseling as premarital. But she said she was really looking forward to it and indicated it was because she would learn what a godly wife was supposed to be. Like that's where she learned. She didn't know this. This was new to her. And if you watch the 2015 interview, The Amazing Race, with her boyfriend, JT Massey, she is happy and giddy and talking about traveling around the world and the gypsy lifestyle. And when they go to bed and dance in the kitchen and he sings to her, and it's like different person, but not because she's like been cloned or anything, but because that is what oppression does, like in the church for women. I've had this theory that the level of misogyny, which is not biblical, that's another conversation for another, not biblical, is because men are so insecure on some level. There's that brokenness that and competitive that if they can set to the side or eliminate half the competition with misogyny, then it's just a big swoop to the side. We don't have to deal with them. They have to be of service. Oh, it's bad. And the top 20 donor that I know was like they never saw Erica. And the only time that she was not with the kids, and I'm sure that's hyperbole, but was when she was on stage. And there's a note that she shows inadvertently where Charlie talks about, mentions how hard it is being home with the kids. Now, yes, most men say that at some point, but
if
she,
they're smart.
if they're smart, she gave it away. I mean, she just tells on herself constantly. Oh, let's watch the rest of this. Any questions about that?
Like, first of all. Second of all, I spoke to a reporter from Us Weekly back on, I pulled up the dates here, back on March 13th. I was
Giving all the
contacted by
information.
Paolo, I think it's how you pronounce her name. Very nice lady. And she said that they were going to do an article on Erica. And would I be willing to speak about it? I said, sure, absolutely. I did the article with her. And then I waited because I hadn't seen anything. I wasn't sure whether it was digital or printed or whatever. And then I reached back out to her on April 27th. And I said, hey, did I miss the article? I'm just checking. And she says, no, we haven't published it yet. Well, here's the thing about the article, Gary. That article was put in play by Candace's PR person, Mitchell. Not me, not anyone else.
And maybe it was. Maybe it was. But that's like brilliant. So Candace, if that's true, I'm not saying it is. But if it is, and Candace kind of tipped her hand a little bit by knowing insider information and regarding it, maybe it was her way of trolling. Like this person, is my contact. Just like the Daily Mail is Turning Point, their contact. Oh, um, okay. Think for a minute of the people in Erica Kirk's orbit. Because I have if I were a betting woman, think who you think it would be in the circles, in that circle. I think it's a woman. It's a woman. That doesn't sound like Blake Neff. I think it's this person, Stacey Sheridan, flipping people off outside the courthouse. Tracy, everything she said about why it would be her. I absolutely, I mean, would not be her. I believe because she has been forthright. I mean, she has just been out there. She wanted to have a conversation with Candace. She's not afraid of confrontation. Her interpretation of it, I mean, is weird because at one point she says, Candace said, I think we're at a crossroads here. And And Tracy said, "Well, no, my definition of a crossroads is," and I can't say the exact quote, but it was, "We need to kind of keep going until you hear me." And Candace was essentially like, "I think you're just getting played. So at this point, it doesn't really matter, what you say." I think it's Tracy Sheridan, Stacy Sheridan. I'm just going to make up names. What do you think? Believable? You still with me in this weird time? I should title this. I'm going to title this I Believe Tracy Martin. I love breaking the stereotype of, just I'm just going to communicate everything that Candace says. Or like, I love when people typecast me because I live in LA and work in Hollywood, and they come at me with something, and then I just scripture their arse into the ground. They're like, what? Okay. Oh yeah, I just think that's completely Stacey Sheridan. Is there another video?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is, but let me see if I have. But I've mentioned this before. Tracy will do the absolutes. The kids are always with her. No, you just can't. I don't take people like that seriously. Other examples where I gave Erica the benefit of the doubt, like people went nuts about saying Erica claims she didn't drink. When she said that, I didn't take that as a blanket statement that she never drank. I I didn't like the way she framed it. I thought it was judgmental, and I just don't function that way kind of thing. But I took it my takeaway was she just doesn't drink now. But people went nuts. There is a video where I incorporated that she was contradicting herself and made the claim, um but no, I but people were going nuts over that. And when she said that she didn't date in Manhattan, I took that to mean that she wasn't dating men in Manhattan. That was another thing people went nuts over. So I didn't take it that she wasn't dating at all. So and people were like, "Oh, she was actually dating him and dating." Yeah, but they weren't in Manhattan. So it's okay to disagree. Back to reading. It took 5 minutes in Turning Point Land before I asked, why do I care more about what happened to Charlie Kirk than his own wife, his own team, and those that had undying loyalty to Erica? Why don't they care? I've been criticized by Paige Shrill's Fed Sloppers. It took me a while to figure out what that was. Then I was like, oh, slopping the pigs. Okay. Be, because I didn't agree with Charlie on most things. In fact, I didn't even like him. I've said this. I didn't loathe him. I didn't hate him. I just found his stage or debate persona, his approach persona off-putting. So to say my only motivation could be financial consciousness of guilt. Also, I wasn't monetized. My account was starting to escalate quickly, but it was because of some Epstein stuff I was doing. I would say that considering the merging of the minds across the aisle that's happening over issues like this, that it makes me more objective. That I didn't watch Candace before, a little bit the Blake Lively stuff. That put her on my radar. I didn't watch all of it. Even I didn't watch her at the beginning of the Charlie Kirk stuff cuz I Erica was weird, but I wasn't like compelled to post about it. That I was trying to find the post that was like the first I ever did about her. Um because the point was, if you're feeling weird about this, it's not just you. because part of the, I don't want to say just bad experience, it was almost like systematic abuse when the church frames things about women are less than, although we're supposed to believe we're not, that being submissive is great. And there is a lot of misunderstanding regarding that word. Erica actually did a pretty good job explaining that. But you know what I'm saying. I don't have to go. I don't have to go into it. Um, but I had a video where I said that, and people responded to that. Like, okay, it's not just me. It's not just me. Because if you speak out against a widow, I was like, watch one episode of Law and Order. You're supposed to question this, but it was just this reverse crazy, just crazy. Um, I will share this one video though. This will be a couple minutes, but it's one of the first ones that I ever did. Part of my way of taking the information in for the memorial service, quote unquote memorial service, was doing these videos. Um, and this one was fun, and I had a makeup on, so
Self some warm, fuzzy, positive feelings after watching the white Christian nationalist.
I'm going to go to the beginning.
If you felt yourself some warm, fuzzy, positive feelings after watching the white Christian nationalist event yesterday disguised as Charlie Kirk's memorial service, this one is not for you. And to the MAGA person who right now is in the comments getting ready to type out, "You're just jealous," I don't think you thought that one through.
This is Erica Kirk.
Cue the fireworks. She good to go with the tissue? All right, just keep it away from the sparks. Where's the tissue guy? Hey, she held that a little longer than we discussed. Here's where she needs to look up to the heavens. Nailed it. Did you tell her to do that thing, like where she mouths her prayer, so everybody can see it? Remind me to tell wardrobe that they nailed it with the white. It's very angelic. All right, she's kind of milking the applause thing. Tell her to get going. Is she on like beauty pageant autopilot? It's. We really need this many cameras? All right, who skimped on the fireworks? I told you to get those longer lasting ones. Not everybody used the bulletproof glass, but of course she did. I completely understand why she would want to. See, that thing I did there, that's called empathy. Something that Charlie Kirk claimed was useless. What he said was, I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up word, a new age term. It does a lot of damage. They're keeping the music loud to encourage the crowd to keep going. She does this thing where she's like, crying, but kind of that childlike thing. I swear to God, I saw this coming, that she was going to raise her head on the upswing of the song. I told you, this thing has been a production from day one, or day two. I didn't talk about that, did I? But enough is enough. Isn't it strange that we haven't seen his parents or his sister? No, because this is the Erica fucking Kirk show. And now she looks up and tells Charlie that she loves him. If you felt yourself some warm, fuzzy, positive feelings after watching.
Go away. Make it go away. God, those were so fun to do. I did a series of them that were like production, like that. And then I went through a season I just couldn't do Trump anymore, like the detailed stories of assaults of his in the Epstein files. And I believe the victims. I get that there are women who, I get that. I'm going to read. had so many comments about women, just dismissing all women because some have done that, you know. Um, I wrote, just because something might be politically motivated, for example, Trump's the tax stuff being brought up politically motivated, doesn't mean he didn't do it. He did it. The 34 felony account that I mean, he did it. Yes, it was politically motivated. So if the idea is that they're being um, persecuted because of them being anti-Semitic or something, doesn't mean they didn't do what they're being accused of, which apparently there's enough evidence for it to go forward. Okay. This was probably written at 5:30 in the morning, so I haven't reread this. I'm just going to give it how it be gotten. Watching a Tate interview where they proclaim innocence is like watching two men who raise cattle, not just raise cattle, they are all things cattle, who have only eaten red meat, have spent thousands of hours talking about it, telling men they aren't men unless they eat red meat, and then do an interview and say they're vegetarians. What do you think, honey? Doug,
I wasn't listening.
you were listening.
I'm multitasking.
There was an interview with a BBC woman. I want to put together a compilation of there's this woman, God, who is she with? The blonde, kind of older woman who interviewed Netanyahu, and boy, she was just tough. And he was kind of looking down. I mean, he had this like regressive kind of reaction. But he didn't like it. You know, kind of like a child that's on the verge of being independent, like maybe 17, and they turn 18 next month, and mom is kind of berating them, and they're like, soon I'll be 18. You can't tell me what to do. Um, and then Trump, you've seen these interviews. I don't like it. Why am I doing that? You've seen, you know. Um, there are interviews you can find online where he doesn't like women interviewers. He does not like when a woman gets um, authoritative. He's walked out of a couple of those. Barbara Walters, and then the one that was in the barn or something because it was raining, and I forget what she asked about. And then there's this interview with the BBC and Andrew Tate, and it was the first interview that he did after being removed from um, being held, and they didn't press charges, but they had to go home under house arrest, which meant it was still they were still coming together. So the idea that Romania has closed the books and nothing has been found, no, Trump intervened in all that. He shut that down. But this woman, it's when you read, not just listen to a Tate interview and like, oh, I believe him. No, it's uncomfortable. But if you are going to declare to the world that you believe Andrew Tate, please, just for the sake of your own integrity, read the accusations, read, watch a testimony. I mean, watch a woman share her story. You can tell. You can tell who's authentic or not. But these guys, and they're all the same persona. It's this narcissistic, misogynistic, dominating. And for women to be strong, I don't like that at all. Um, okay. I don't know where this is going, but I'm just going to read it. Um, you've likely heard me share that other than a few talking points, I was not particularly familiar with Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens. So I'm an outsider, an outlier. How do you say that? Is that right? Outlier. Um, I had not even heard of. I hadn't heard of Stu Peterson, Baron Coleman, Lionel Nation, Coach Colin, and others. Hadn't heard of them, which reflects nothing on them. It just was. I didn't listen to podcasts. What? What?
There's somebody in the chat saying that you built your platform on Candace and now you're stabbing her in the back. And then it says you've gotten a call from BB
Who's BB?
Netanyahu.
I've gotten a call from BB to
Yes,
go
that's why
after.
you're turning on Candace.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. No disrespect. But we haven't laughed like this since somebody called me a narcissist, and we have like four adopted older at risk kids, like when we adopted them. And it's just like the most absurd, that's so canned. That's just such a canned response. It's like, you know, TDS or your Hollywood or something. It just doesn't, you know, I'm interested in what you have to say, but use your big boy words, like that just doesn't, I built that's like, um, Turning Point saying that Candace built her on Erica. No, you're new here. Oh my God. Okay. Um, 5:45, probably this was written in the morning. I had heard of the Tate brothers to the extent of knowing they were part of the mostly conservative-based manosphere, a segment of society that reads to me like a band of little brothers bonded by, ironically, insecurity birthed out of mommy issues, who, as a result of both self-care and a lack of self-care and self-awareness, fail to build themselves a biblical model of manhood, but choose to place the entirety of blame on a liberal driven agenda that seeks to castrate them. Couple typos in there, which broke the flow. But when I hear men who claim to be Christians blame the liberals for taking away, God, if people would just like stay in their own lane in a sense, like be the man of God you want to be that person. Surround yourself with like minded men who, have the same goals, who incorporate not just the Old Testament God of wrath and vengeance and, I smote thee, something. Um, it doesn't, one book doesn't end. I mean, Jesus, as the story goes, bore that wrath. So you'll notice that Turning Point, but not just Turning Point, when they fixate on the God of the Old Testament, same God, but the God of the Old Testament, it's because they want to back up the narrative of this, wrath and vengeance, because they're angry and they want to justify it. Like when they would pull scriptures, people wanting to defend Erica Kirk, and they would pull out the widow scriptures. Ladies, you don't have to talk like a man to have authority. Erica's doing it. I mean, I'm looking for Adam's apples. That's just weird. Don't have to talk like a man to sound like you have authority. But Jesus, when you model yourself after Jesus as a man, what are Doug, help me out here, like descriptors. I could do it, but you know, I, adjectives of a
That's a lofty thing that I'm not sure I've ever consciously tried to do.
are you
No, I'm
fearful
serious. I
you'll
mean,
be
I think of examples in the Bible of, but seriously don't think of Jesus because, he's the perfect example in a sense.
so in what sense? What are qualities of the God made man, Jesus, that are
He elevated people that were downtrodden, whether it's women or cripples or orphans, or he
so,
elevated those people. He was caring, compassionate. He had, if he lost, if he got angry, it was righteous anger. It wasn't out of pride or, um,
and there's only one example of that.
well, I mean, when he cast out demons or stuff like that. I mean, there's other, but yeah, that's the one like physical violent,
The most
the
human kind of
clearing the
looking.
temple. Yeah.
So you can see why they'd want to focus on the Old Testament God, right? Pillars of salt and calling fire down from the sky. Because Jesus is, this quiet, like centered, he's not erratic. Like they, the men that speak this way, they can relate to the Peter, right? I won't forsake you. I won't deny your name. And then, Jesus says, before the rooster crows 3 times, you will deny me 3 times. He's like, no, I won't. And he does. As the story goes, it's the women who go to the grave, not the men. The men are hiding out. The women go. And the women then go to the men, and the men call them crazy. Call them crazy. Oh my God. When Eve took the fruit, Adam was right there. She wasn't like rebelling out on her. Like he was right there. So you talk about a propaganda war, the way the church has manipulated the role of women. Even a book of the Bible or two that they kept out because it was men who decided those books. Okay, that's another. Doug and I go down that.
Not willingly.
We I love that we can have those conversations. All right, I lost my momentum there. Um, but the blame shifting of I I would be a true man of God if it weren't for the liberals' agenda, or that's keeping me from doing that. Like that's just absurd. But the quiet strength of Jesus. But Jesus was also in touch with the emotions. Remember, like the night before his crucifixion, he's on his knees praying, pleading with God, like, "I- let this cup pass from me. He wasn't like, here I come to save the day. Like, nail right here, do it, do it. This is what I'm here for. He was like, Dad, can we go? Is there another direction here? Like for real. The what is said is that he was so stressed, he was sweating blood. And apparently that's a thing. I heard somebody break that down one time how that's physically possible. I can't communicate that, but that wouldn't fit the model of, see, it's because it's about sacrifice. Ironically, the self control and the discipline of Jesus staying on the cross when he could have blinked, and wiped everything out and had a do over. But the disciples were freaked out. They were freaked out because this isn't the way they wrote the story. They wrote the story like the manosphere would love the story to go. That he was going to be a king, that he was going to rule like on a literal like throne there. So they saw him being taken out, and it wasn't what they expected at all. So they were fearful and they went into hiding, but not the women. We know that. I mean, we're told that story. That's not like some hidden story, but I don't think it's like the focus is put on it very much. But the discipline and the love and the compassion. See the verses they pull from the widow are from the Old Testament because the New Testament ones include the foreigners. You care. Sorry, we might have a dog moment. Um, you it's not just the widow; it's for the foreigners. Notice they didn't say any of that. They didn't say any of those. Pick and choosing it. It's been very difficult. Um, and one of the things that led me to step away from the evangelical church was the misogyny and systematic oppression of women in the church. And something else slipped my mind. It just slipped my mind. I'm sure it will come to me. There were women who taught men in the Bible. There's a misconception about that. One word gets translated wrong, like the one that describes homosexuality. There is what you want. Like, I know our minds are already with the Epstein files, but it's just a fact. It's just Greek. You translate. You think of the game where you tell the secret to the next person, and it goes round and round, and then you see how it evolves. And okay,
Something's going on with the
oh really? Well, that's not good. I said some good stuff. I don't want to gargle. Check.
sound. Plug your mic.
Unplug it in the back. Sorry, guys, just a second. Doug gets the one with the cool light at the bottom. I think that's pretty cool. Oh, I'm still talking. I'm still talking. I'm still talking. I'm still talking. We are good. We are good. Ugh. Douglas, like, say everything you just said again. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for traveling with. Good. I haven't lost all of you. Thank you for still being here. I can't see the comments like scrolling up. Is there a super one I need to? Okay. So, okay. Have we had any trolling?
Yes.
Really?
The one I shared,
That same guy? No.
but people handled him.
I didn't realize that all I wanted in life, not all I want, yeah, I'm just being, cheesy, was to like not have to defend myself. You never have to defend yourself. But like, and I'm not trying to tell you like go after people. Like, don't be mean, please. But um yeah, if you just joined, you should start over. Start at the beginning. All right, I'm going to move this though. I want to get into your. If you have a question, Doug will keep an eye on them so you don't like have to do a super chat. What I was saying was that part of what is so fun for me is not being in a bubble of like-minded. I love the diversity that's here, and I'm not trying to convince you of anything. So when people come at me with the Hollywood thing or the whatever, it's like it don't like you only get so much energy in a day. Like, don't waste it here. Like, I mean, you're welcome to be here, but that just brings bad vibes on yourself. Um, I think I'm realizing that part of my role in this whole thing, because it's so easy to feel so powerless. Of course we would. So just to be aware and present of what we can do in our own household or with a neighbor, you know, opportunities will come. I mean, when you're open, you'll get the nudges. I said this the other day, if somebody crosses your mind, like, it's usually for a reason and they need to hear from you then. So part of what I feel um, led to, I don't know, I think part of my role in this whole thing is just saying, hey, it's not just you. It's not just you. Because it's never just you. But the enemy, the whatever, the powers that be want you to think it's just you. Want you to think that it's just you. Because if you get isolated, then you're more susceptible, you're more, you know, beaten down, pliable in a sense. So it's not fun to be contrarian. And I had, you know, I wasn't excited sharing my thoughts of, pushing back on Candace for what would be just blatant hypocrisies, which is a core issue of what we're accusing Erica Kirk of. But to condemn people that have any connection to Romania and to give the Tates a pass who lived there for 10 years. That's, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, but that would, you know, that would be a tough one. Um, you guys have been so good for me too. I I took the vaccine. I took the vaccine. I thought if you didn't, that you were just, I don't know, Doug, what would be an adjective? I don't want to say stupid, but I was in this mindset of a blind trusting of the science, and I don't feel that way now. And I don't know that I militantly like have the conviction that some do, but it's been good to be challenged. I mean, God, I was so wired about it that because it just, it triggered a justice thing for me where I was like, okay, if you're not going to take the vaccine, then you don't get a hospital bed. If so, like, I went after a bridesmaid of mine. I mean, we weren't in touch anyway, but I was just like, that's where I was coming from. Um, Now I got teary when I had the vaccine because I was forced to do it in a sense. We needed the money. Government wasn't taking care of us.
You had to do it to be able to work.
Yeah, I had to work. I mean, I had to work. I'm part of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, and you had to have the vaccine to work, and I had to work. I mean, you look at the jobs that are the grocery. You think any jobs were available? There was nothing available. Um, Here's a thought because, and it kind of ties into this. Not, I mean, it has nothing to do with Candace. Um, but because of the SAG strike and COVID, it wiped us out. It wiped us out. And you are probably familiar with at some point in your life, if not now, the weight of debt, the weight of it. And I was on a chat with a good friend back in Tennessee, and she looped in this lawyer guy here. I think just because we had similar political views and maybe they didn't necessarily have a lot of like minded people, but he was a lawyer. And for some reason, I think she brought up something regarding debt that was burying them, so oppressive to their relationship, so whatever. And he said, "Why don't you file bankruptcy?" And I was like, and he was talking to her, but I was like, because to like we'd always paid every bill, right? But all of a sudden, like there was this wave of, yeah, like the president has done it 6 times at least. You know, as a matter of fact, the wealthy, the elite, like they do it. And somehow we're convinced that it's a sign of failure. Just like somehow we are convinced that, free education and healthcare and are bad for us. It's a failure, but we're paying for Israel to do it, to get those things. Like it's crazy. We have pastors that chastise. Erica said, Charlie's favorite word was earn. Um, George, in his interview with this Catholic guy, it was basically, earn your keep, earn your keep. And I get that. There's also a time where there are systems made available, like a turning point for, no pun intended, for Donald Trump when he debated Hillary was when she made a jab at his taxes and not paying taxes. And what did he say, Doug? Do you remember the phrasing? But he basically said the laws are there. It would be stupid not to. It would be stupid not to. It was so freaking easy. Can you imagine the impact on this elite class, or if everybody just was like, why am I killing myself over this debt? Why am I busting it? When this certain class of people just, they don't even pay the tax level we do. You guys, game changer. And, there's a couple different categories. One, you still have to pay some back, and they spread that out. One, you don't pay anything back. And we initially thought we qualified for the one that you have to pay something back. But this is why a lawyer, so worth it. So worth it. And God, I hesitate to mention this. I did a video on this, and I shared the video twice. When you declare bankruptcy and there's a hardship situation involved, like health, it's not part of the bankruptcy itself. Please hear me say this. Listen very carefully, because inevitably 100 people will comment, student loans weren't part of my bankruptcy. Technically, no. But once you go through bankruptcy, and if you had what would qualify as a hardship situation, a lawyer can explain that. I'm not going to go into all that. We had our student debts all but eliminated. Doug, do you remember the numbers? Like, it went from
60,000 to about 4,000.
gone. Inevitably, someone's going to comment, you can't file bankruptcy for student loans. No, you can't. You can't. It's a different thing. And I didn't plan on bringing it up, so I don't have what it's called in front of me. On Instagram, you'll have to dig through it, but at least twice I share a bankruptcy video, which is much more detailed. Because people, as a result of me saying this, have called lawyers, and the lawyers say, no, you can't. You know, it's called discharging, right?
Yeah, once you've been through the bankruptcy,
You have to go through the
process
bankruptcy.
for your credit card debt or whatever, and that's been ruled on, then you can go back, and the lawyer can take this to the Department of Education, as this person's been through bankruptcy, can these be discharged?
It does. It goes to the Department of Education. Todd Blanche.
Is on my
He's
official paperwork, my court documents. Is
that is a
processing.
fact. That's a fact. That's hysterical. I forgot about that. So I'm telling you, because people will comment, you can't do that. Well, we did it. We did it. But you go through the bankruptcy first. I don't think it matters which one it is. Don't call your injury attorney if you have one. Like, we didn't have an attorney. We Googled, and we didn't know about that. We didn't know about the student loan thing. And she brought it up. You guys, $60,000 of school loans down to $4,000. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I am sharing. Okay, someone said, is it just me, or has anyone had to turn up the speaker to hear since her new mic came out? How do I turn up the speaker? Doug's like, you can turn it up. I have been talking more quiet. All right. Thank you for though. Um, oh, here's a good comment. And I appreciate you sharing it. Let me look. Somebody said my misogynistic comments are unfair. Um, life isn't fair, honey.
I'm not sure that was at you.
Oh, really? See, Doug doesn't like it when I jump in because he's like, you don't know. Like it might be, directed to somebody else. Um, your misogynistic ideas are unfair on the majority of men. Humanity operates very much like the baboon troop, the baboon hierarchy. A typical male baboon, I'm just glad you wrote this because I am so enjoying saying baboon. Like that's such a fun word. Baboon. A baboon with a balloon. Baboon. Uh okay, a typical male baboon has a dominance hierarchy. I would like to think that whether you go the evolution route or the creation route, that men, that missing part of the gene that maybe elevates us away from baboonery status. Um, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to mock you. I just don't. I don't know the baboon stuff, but 57-year-old woman who's been involved in full time ministry for a long time. I knowest the things. Now, I tried to say that I don't want to generalize. Not everybody. I was in the South, Kentucky, but no, it didn't matter when we worked overseas. It was the same. It was just the same way. It's just the same way. I'm not taking it back. I'm not walking that back. All right. Do I have anything else to add here? I sure do. Um, boy, I was in a mood. I don't even know. Just bear with me. I watched in utter disbelief, jaw fully dropped, as Erica stood behind a makeshift pulpit in his studio and, with barely the skill of a D-grade actress, delivered nothing short of a turning point infomercial and feigned grief in that order of importance. Infomercial, feigning grief. Maybe it was just cathartic to write these things. Tyler Robinson had yet to stand before a judge. We knew nothing definitive yet. She declared Robinson's guilt, elevated Charlie to nothing short of messianic status, while declaring him to be the perfect father and husband. But what got me was the bastardization of the gospel. What's that mean, Doug? I wrote it, but how would you best explain when somebody says the bastardization of the gospel? I mean, it's a great word, but
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I mean, just using it out of context to prove their own point, taking it out of context for their benefit.
Would you look it up? I'm just, no, just bastardization. It's a word used a lot. I want to make sure like we nail it. I'm going to wait to go on till you share that. Bastardization. Oh, do you want me?
You have the mic.
I have the mic. And I have the glasses. How you guys doing? You hanging with us? Bastardization means the act of changing something so that it loses its true value, quality, or original meaning. Okay. I really appreciate, as I think most of us do, there are some that say, God, I wish we could go back to the time when we didn't know who Erica Kirk was. And I don't feel the same way because stuff is being exposed. And one of the very specific things that gets reiterated quite often is that we've woken up. Most, not, most, a significant amount of people have woken up to the reality that the game has been to divide us. Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative, legal or illegal. If you aren't MAGA, you aren't a patriot. If you don't support Trump, you hate the country, Zionist or Goyim. There is, I'm going to roll a joke into this one because this is true. There are 3 subjects where both sides shut it down. No conversation. Not both sides shut down all 3. But I think each side speaks for itself. For the left, there's no conversation to be had about abortion. None. Generally speaking. I'm considered in the left, I would have the conversation. I piss off people on both sides regarding that one. To the right, no conversation to be had about gun control. Kamala Harris, she didn't want to take away guns. She made that really clear. But the NRA, and we have guns. The third area, so we've got no conversation about abortion, no conversation about gun control, because you've got the left would be infuriated, the right would be infuriated, and you sure as hell cannot criticize Taylor Swift without a Swiftie crawling so far up your bum. I'm telling you, on par with gun control and abortion, is trying to speak out against Taylor Swift. I can hear you laughing on the inside. All right. This is the last part, and this is a little more serious. But to summarize that, if you are them, if you are they, those people are the problem, right? All those things aside, never in my life have I seen such a group collective mindset in Christendom where this us versus them mentality comes into play with the same level of emotion and no semblance of redemption. You see it all over social media. On X, I've had people come at me cussing after being like, you're not a believer. So it's like, you're not a believer. F you, you're going to burn. Okay, so I could become a believer and be like you. Like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? The example that we see of these hecklers that are showing up and will continue to show up to Erica Kirk events, and the reaction of the people in the church are to jeer, get him out of here, get him out of here, Arr, get him out of here. Nobody follows and says, do you want to talk about it? Like, are you angry? And I'm not saying that the person has anything to apologize for. I'm just saying there's never been like so much self-righteousness and no Jesus in the picture. Jesus has left the building. Donald Trump, seven deadly sins, nails them. Fruit of the Spirit, not so much. But it doesn't matter. Something switches. Where's the gospel and where's the love of Christ compelling? Where is the salt and light? The Great Commission. Erica Kirk once said, the purpose of your life is to spread the gospel. That's not true. The purpose is to know God, love God, and enjoy him forever. That's the purpose of your existence. She even said, we don't know what the purpose is for our life. Yes, it is, bitch. Read the Bible. Don't just like say the words, like absorb it. I also used to cuss so much more. Then Coach Colin was like, I'd love to have you on, but you can't cuss. It's like, okay, I can do that. It's not like Tourette's that I can't control it. But it's obscene. It's obscene. The treatment of illegals. I'm not talking about criminals that like what they've communicated, which he first communicated coming down they're rapists and they're and the majority are not. Look up those statistics, white guys. You don't come out looking great. It's just a tool. It's just a tool to divide. Because none of it's biblical. None of it's biblical. Well, it's like they're cutting in line or no, we're talking people who did it legally, who were doing it right. And even if they weren't, it's a civil offense. It's on par with it's parking ticket. And then you go through the process. And maybe that's part of the problem and that needs to change. But when you look at the numbers of past presidents and deportations and the chaos and the hellish, it's not like, oh my God, the consequence. All right. But I've never so collectively seen a group be like, if you're not a Christian and you don't believe what we believe, if you don't support Trump, if you don't support Erica Kirk, then F you. F you. No love, no compassion, just condemnation. And when Erica came out of like that rally flipped the switch on. Game on. Game on. Stephen Miller, plagiarized a little mustache guy associated speech. I mean, Gable, that guy. I mean, are you kidding me? It was the most hateful rhetoric. I mean, it's sickening. It is sickening. Yet people looked like, oh, it was so beautiful. No, it was manipulative. The music, I used to like write worship songs and like lead worship. It's manipulative. I watch Erica Kirk coming out and I get an emotional reaction, but it's the soul in me responding to the music. Watch like there's a Zac Efron movie. It's like so C grade, but he's a DJ and it talks about the pulses and how it raises mood. And there's also frequencies you can listen to that are flat out scientific that help calm, help. We know this. We're hearing about the new weaponry that's coming out. All right. I need to get some sleep, but I'm going to look at anything contrary to, yes, we're supposed to feed the hungry, but I'm so sick, so sick of people screaming about abortion. You know, they've got to have the babies. You're killing babies. You're killing babies. Okay, so you're going to support social programs then, like childcare. Trump did away with that. Food stamps. Trump did away with that. When we adopted 4 children, putting some feet to faith there, we had to ask for help. We took food benefits for a while. Okay. I just got to tell you that being outside this, being new here, okay? Brand new exposure to, I mean, engagement level exposure to podcasters. I mentioned Candace, Charlie Kirk. Um, shoot, what was I going to say? I got distracted by. Darn it! Darn it! Darn it! Darn it! Doug, can you read my mind, please? You might have to. You might have to dig deep. Okay, this is where I was going. So, the visceral reaction, and I'm not saying just being an outsider sees this. It's because some of you guys are in it. Like a lot of people, a lot of people, this is what has been joining people across the aisle. You still see it. But so maybe being an outsider has nothing to do with this. I'm just telling you that the reaction that I had to the Tate brothers was as visceral as to Erica Kirk. And they are proven liars, on par with what Turning Point and Erica Kirk have done. Romania for 10 years. The effort of coordination that would have to happen between nations and women of different nations who are giving very specific accounts. They have a thing. They have a thing with belts and choking and very young women, and they talk about it. They talk about it. In that BBC interview, the BBC woman reporter reads a quote from him, from his website, reads a quote like Candace did with Victor Marx. And Victor Marx was like, I don't, is it there? It's not there. Well, because they took it down, like Andrew Tate did with this one. That class that they would charge, was it a monthly fee? And learn how to pimp, like whatever. You could still find that because Candace was saying they haven't been involved in this for 10 years. There's evidence to the contrary. And you could still find that class like on Spotify as of 2025. So it wouldn't now. So then it's kind of hard to like, I'm sure somebody has a screenshot. I could look for evidence, but it's the accusations are on par. And then it says a lot for the response to somebody who says that are the same as the Turning Point sycophants. So that doesn't mean I'm right about everything. That just means we gotta I guess we don't gotta, but I want to be better. I will gladly admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. No problem with that. Lisa knows, God, I hate mentioning her name. She is the epitome of that church. I saw her go after a handicapped woman who did a post saying that, she was crying about, feeling guilty about watching church at home, but the pain process of getting to church and, the sit, kneel, stand kind of thing. Lisa tore her up in the name of Jesus. Tore her up. And that woman ain't right. She came after me hard. I was really kind of flattered because I was the first one. And then, and she was doing little ads like, if you know somebody who is speaking out against Erica Kirk, look me up at lisa.knows. She was like pimping that. just hateful. So that's why people are leaving the church, why people are leaving evangelism. Charlie enjoyed Catholic Church. One, people didn't flood him afterwards. He had space afterwards, like, you know, not like fan people going after him. And he didn't have to listen to, I mean, watch a Rob McCoy sermon. Chances are he's going to mention Candace. It's crazy. But oh my God, he's bought and paid for. That's another subject that 1,000 pastors that were invited, you know, that went to Israel for their whining and dining and be pro-Israel. We are not our own anymore. And we probably never were, but okay. Last minute questions. Doug's like, wrap it up. Wrap it up. I'm going to do a quick look, quick looky, last looks, as we say in the industry. Last looks. Did you see me in Hawk with Molly Shannon, who was an absolute sweetheart? And who would want to be a Christian looking at the church today? And people say, don't look at church, look at God. No. If somebody said, this will cure cancer, this is the only way that if you will die if you don't take this treatment for cancer, yet 90% of the people taking it were dying anyway because it's not working. You wouldn't take the vaccine. Why would you commit your life to something that isn't working? Boom. Okay. Do. I encourage you, consider bankruptcy. Okay. No, Democrats are going to take care of Marx, but that's sickening. Christine, I wanted to email you and catch you up more before you're live. I rejoined as a member because I am broke, but I need to give you information. So yeah, the email, could you post it? Tips, TIPS, tips. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I'm really sorry, Eleanor. What is it?
Tips contact us at Gmail.
Tips contact us. Mile High. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know. Although you might like the link that's in my bio right now. If you're feeling a little sassy, I've gotten some pushback on the link that's in my bio, but hey. All right, you guys. Thank you for hearing me out. I love me, Candace. And there was a point I never thought I'd say that. I love her and appreciate her, and I can disagree with her. And I guarantee you she respects me more because I do. Not that my purpose is to gain her respect. This is a safe place. This is my house. And I am glad you're here. Just don't be an arsehole. Okay. I love you and I appreciate you. And go do something for somebody today. If you're struggling with being down, I promise you nothing helps kick you out of that than doing something for somebody else, even if you don't feel like it. All right. Oh, don't forget thinkhappystuff.com. Like, subscribe, that helps us out. Also, thinkhappystuff.com. That is our gift company that we started back in 2006 in Nashville when I was a stay at home mom with 7 kids under the age of 11. And I was having a hard time thinking happy stuff. Everything I do is basically birthed out of my brokenness, which I forever will be, which, you could probably relate to on some level. So, all right. Love you guys. I'm signing out in 3. Wait, I got the cursors over. I'll do it. End stream. Bye, you guys. Who's doing it?